Welcome to IDLA seminar on using CK12 and OpenStax in your Google Classroom. So today I want to talk with you a little bit about lesson design in the online environment and how to use these two resources to design lessons in your classroom, in your online classroom. We're going to be looking at specifically Google Classroom, but you're able to use these resources in pretty much any LMS or learning management system. So, as a teacher, we are all very good at designing lessons, and those can look very different depending upon what grade level that you teach. This here is just kind of a basic overview of what a lesson design might look like. As your student walks in the class, you might have a bell ringer on the board, present them with something to kind of remind them of what you did the previous day. And then you might go into direct instruction where you present your students with information, with material, and then you might help them to practice what they learned and then maybe give them an individual practice to kind of assess their understanding. And so again, this can look very different in different grade levels, but one of the really neat things is that in the online environment, it looks very similar to what it looks like in the traditional classroom. The only thing that would be very different would be obviously the tools that you would be using. And so let's go ahead and look at some different tools that you can use to create your online lessons in your online classroom. So CK12.org and OpenStax.org are the OER resources that we are going to be looking at today specifically. Both of these were websites that have been created by educated professionals, and they have been created through grants. And so all of the content on these websites are OER, and they're open for you to use freely, and your students do not need to sign up for anything in order to access these materials. CK12 specifically provides content for K through 12, so if you are a K through 12 teacher, this would be the website where you would probably find most of your content. OpenStax is designed specifically for upper level high school and college courses. So if you are teaching an upper level high school course, that would be a very good resource to obtain material for your course. So one of the most important things that we do in teaching is providing direct instruction. And so in the online environment, that might look a little bit different because you might not be standing in front of your students teaching them or talking. You might just be providing materials for your students to learn the content. And so in CK12, you are able to provide your students with full textbooks. So if you don't want your student to have to log into K12, CK12, or if you don't want to copy and paste the content into your classroom each time, you can create your own flex textbook, and you can share that with your students. And so the way that you do that is you just go ahead and go to CK12.org. And I have an account, but it's just my Google account. So as a teacher, I just encourage you to go ahead and sign in with your Google account. And then here in this little search box, you're going to go ahead and type in what you're looking for. So I'm going to look for covalent bonding. And you can see I have a lot of different things that come up. I have some practice. I have some videos and some readings. And so these would be the types of materials that you could share with your students to learn the concept of covalent bonding if you were a science teacher. So I would go ahead and click on the reading. And if this was something that I wanted to share with my students, I could go ahead and assign it to them in my Google Classroom. And so that's super easy to do. It just allows you to go ahead and log into your Google Classroom. And then you're able to write instructions, and then you're able to assign that to your students. So this is a really easy way to provide direct instruction to your students in your classroom, in your virtual classroom, by just going in here, finding the material that you're looking for, and then going ahead and adding that directly to your Google Classroom from the CK12 platform. So they do have readings and videos that you can share with your students, real world examples that you can share with your students to teach them the concepts. OpenStax, like I said before, is geared more towards upper levels, so they really don't have as much diversity in the material that they offer. They do offer a lot of material, but basically their offerings are limited to textbooks. So you can always grab a section of a textbook and share it with your students by copying and pasting that into your Google Classroom. So you could do that. Here's just an example. Obviously, this isn't material that I would want to share, But if I wanted to share material with my students, but I didn't want to have to share the whole textbook, I could just easily copy and paste from the open stacks, and then I can go ahead and just add it that way. So you can either go ahead and create a whole textbook and share it with your students. You could also, if you needed with these, you can also look at the table of contents, and if you want to view that online, it gives it to you that way. But one of the things that I was seeing that you can do this if you wanted to share this with your students is you can go to print and you can create it as a PDF, and you can save it and link it that way too to your students. Okay, so that is for the direct instruction. And again, OpenStax offers full textbooks online. And one other really interesting thing about OpenStax is that you can also order one to be shipped to you. So when you're working on guided practice and individual practice, CK12 also offers a lot of really great resources for this. So I was looking at covalent bonding before. So you can see that a lot of different things are going to come up. And when I look over here, I have 884 articles of reading. I have 123 videos, but then I have these also have these little things called plixes, and then I also have these things called adaptive practice. And so in the adaptive practice, you can actually assign these to your students directly. These are little quizzes and little games that students can play, and you can assign these little practices for students to help them with their guided practice on a concept. And then another really fun tool in here, you can use it as a guided practice, or you can also use it as an assessment, would be the plixes. And these little plixes are just little, they're basically, they're just little simulations that students can go through to learn more about the concept, and it's more of an inquiry-based learning approach. So that would be some really good resources that you could utilize from CK12 for some guided practice, or even as some individual assessment. Some of these adaptive practices you could also use to assess your students as well. Unfortunately, with the OpenStax, there really is not a lot of other types of exercises that students can do. But when you look at the end of the chapter, usually at the end of a chapter, there will be some questions that students can practice. So if you come into here and you look through the actual text, you usually can find some example exercises that you can share with your students. And there's also some additional resources that you can also share with your students. Well, I hope that helps you to utilize CK12 and OpenStax a little bit more in your classroom. Thanks for watching.